what one frustrated Bengalurian did, taking the BBMP to court. Quite literally, Bengaluru's rain fury has left citizens angry and abandoned. One Bengalurian has taken a step further, dragging the city's civic body now to court. 43-year-old Richmond town resident Divya Kiran has slapped a legal notice on the BBMP, holding it accountable for the trauma and physical distress he says he's suffered. All because of the city's shoddy roads, collapsing infrastructure. In fact, he's demanded 50 lakhs in damages from the BBMP. And the case is already now stirring a debate. 3 people have lost their lives in this downpour. One of them was crushed under a collapsed compound wall. Every year, pre-monsoon showers exposing same old rot. Poor drainage, choked roads, waterlogged junctions, civic apathy. It's just unending. Where is the solution? Now, will this legal case that the citizen has gone on to pursue against the BBMP really hold in court? I'm going to bring in our panelists joining us for a little more clarity on this. Srikanth Vishwanathan, who's a civic expert. He's the CEO of Janagraha. Thank you very much, Srikanth. We also have Sneha Priya Yanappa, who's a legal activist who can give us a little sense on whether this case will actually have any credibility or standing in court. A quick take first from you, Srikanth, on how do you look at this? Frustration of a common citizen in Bengaluru peaking to a point where he's taken BBMP to court, slapped a 50 lakh notice on them.
Absolutely, Nabila. And I guess many of us as fellow citizens share the same angst. But this particular person has taken a step which I'm not a lawyer, and we'll hear from the other panelists, but I doubt whether it'll stand or lead to anything tangible. But I want to say 2 or 3 quick things. One is the singular legal intervention that is required to ensure that the government comes closer to the people and the feedback loop of accountability gets closed firmly and quickly is to implement the 74th Constitution Amendment in spirit. State governments have deliberately dragged their feet on this 30-plus-year-old constitutional amendment and deliberately disempowered local governments, as a result of which this chasm is developing. And as our cities are confronting more and more complex challenges, citizens actually don't know who to go to and how to seek redress. If we had elected councils in our cities, then every 5 years you have the opportunity to hold them accountable because you have a government that is really close to people. That's point number 1. So that to me is a more impactful, sustainable legal remedy, which is to implement the 74th Constitutional Amendment in spirit. The second thing that I want to say is with respect to roads, think about the success story in India. In 25 years, India has transformed its highways. We didn't believe in the 90s, for example, or in the late 80s that India would ever fix its highways, but we've done it. So when we set our mind to it, it's possible for us as a country to solve problems at scale. Now, the problem with urban roads is there are no standards. While highways follow standards of the Indian Road Congress, as far as urban roads are concerned, there are no standards. So it's basically a free-for-all with respect to engineers and contractors. So we need mandatory standards and mandatory tenders and procurement laws for urban roads, including specifications, etc. Bangalore has the benefit of having one such standard called Tender Sure, where SURE stands for Specifications for Urban Roads Execution. We've even got anecdotal evidence to suggest that stormwater drains on Tender Sure roads are holding up slightly more effective. And there are lesser potholes developing on Tender Sure roads. And for about 7-8 years, many of them have not actually had to be redone or even re-asphalted for that matter. It is a pity that the government of Karnataka is not really scaling a concept like Tender Sure across the city in a phased manner. So it's actually sitting on the solution. And I'll close by saying, like how India solved its highways problem, there is a case for us to have a national mission for urban roads. Because the problem that you're highlighting in Bangalore is there in city after city after city in India. So if we have a national mission for urban roads with very clear standards for urban roads, a large amount of money being allocated and technical experts coming under one roof, like was the case with NHAI, despite notwithstanding any of the failings of the NHAI, it's possible for India to solve city roads within 10 years.
You know, from the looks of it, I highly doubt there's any scope for fixing, but, you know, never say never. I'm not going to demotivate Bengalurians. But a quick take from Sneha Priya. If you could give me a little more on the case that this citizen has filed on the BBMP, slapping a 50 lakh notice, suing the civic body, saying we deserve better roads, we are tax-paying citizens, you have caused us immense trauma, you pay me 50 lakhs now for the damages, mental, physical stress and trauma. Will it hold good?
So preliminarily, whether the state can be held accountable, legally with respect to deaths or injuries caused due to negligence or failure, yes, they can be held accountable. But we will have to look a little more deeper in terms of what are the criteria or what is the problem essentially the citizen is put across. But the next most important question that I have is that, who is this against? For instance, Bangalore does not have an elected mayor. We don't have councillors. The last time we had an elected council was in September 2020. So, where is the accountability? And this entire administrative vacuum is the reason why we do not have an appropriate agency to actually go and ask our questions. And most importantly, do we have enough plans and policies in place? Yes, we absolutely have a Bangalore Climate Action Plan that actually talks about urban flooding and heavy rains. We also have the Karnataka Disaster Management Plan, which also talks about ways with respect to mitigation of disasters, ways with respect to reducing disasters. What is a better way to be able to deal with this problem? But unfortunately, none of this is enforceable. So these are some of the larger questions that need to be answered. But largely, can the state government and can BBMP in this case be held accountable? They absolutely can.
But I do have a question. When you say BBMP can be held accountable, first things first, you have citizens trying to reach out to insurance companies to compensate for their damages. Will insurance even cover something like this, ma'am? We know that basic insurance doesn't, but there are premium insurance policies that might cover. How many can really afford that?
Yes. Yes, that is a larger question. In fact, these are preventable problems. Problems such as electrocution, vehicle collapses, building collapses are issues that shouldn't be reasons why people lose their lives. And one most important thing is this entire bout of rain has actually brought the city to such a standstill that most vulnerable populations who actually live on an everyday basis, like street vendors, gig workers, have been affected the most, in terms of not being able to actually carry out their jobs effectively.
Would you want to come in on that, Srikanth, on compensation? Hardly at all that one can expect. Where can you expect for compensation when you have the agencies not even willing to take accountability for the damage here? Give us a little more on what compensation a person can get. Bengaluru, their cars, their homes that have been damaged with flood water entering. Is there anything they can get in return?
The only sustainable insurance policy is good systems of governance. There is really no other sustainable insurance policy for challenges like these, Nabila. And you would appreciate this given the kind of challenges that people riding on ambulances, pregnant women, all kinds of challenges we've seen. We've seen young women die because of electrocution due to live wires on the streets and so on, just less than a year ago. So I think there is no alternate to good systems of governance, good systems and institutions in the city. And at the heart of it is, as Sneha mentioned, having an accountable mayor, having an accountable council, ensuring that elections happen on time and that the city government is empowered. You need a single point of executive accountability. You need one person that you can vote out at the end of 5 years, right? You need a group of people that you can vote out like you do in the case of a union government or a state government if you're not happy with their performance. That doesn't exist in any city in India. Therefore, there is no accountability loop that gets closed. And remember that cities like Bangalore send very, very, very few MLAs as a percentage of the entire state assembly. The state assembly in Karnataka has more than 220 MLAs, if I'm not wrong. Bangalore merely contributes about 28 MLAs, whereas it has a disproportionate share of population and also of economic contribution to the state. Therefore, the citizens of Bangalore don't have adequate representation even in the state assembly, leave alone the city council. So the solution really is for us to have empowered local governments and for the accountability loop to be closed. On the hard infrastructure side, like I said, we need standards. And we've done it in other areas. Like I said, even in the case of highways, and Bangalore itself has a standard. It just needs to scale it up. And right now we have a great opportunity.
For me to believe that there's a fix to this, please convince me, Srikanth. We've built on lakes. We've constructed on riverbeds. So Bengaluru's lakes have fully disappeared. Out of the 200 odd, we barely have 50, 60 or even less that remain. Now, how is it possible to chase those people away, demolish those buildings, start actually creating stormwater drains, and ensure that these roads, whatever roads, stopgap arrangements they're doing will give way very soon. One round of rain and all those roads develop cracks because we've built on lakes. So where is the option to improve?
So Nabila, the sins of the past should not come in the way of us doing the right thing right now.
And
we don't have a choice. I do believe there is a possibility. I do believe there is a possibility, but there needs to be, in some ways, a new wave of citizen action, I don't want to say activism, but maybe actionism, where citizens get together and, in some ways, push the state government in Bangalore to ensure that in the new format of having the Greater Bangalore Authority and the smaller municipalities, we make a new beginning because we don't have a choice.
You know, that still does not answer my question on whether you can actually move out people from those areas, demolish those buildings, and create these drains. How are they going to create drains?
See,
It's
Nabila,
a concrete jungle now. Bengaluru has become a
unidimensional.
concrete jungle. And if there are no drains, then roads are never going to sustain.
No, see, these questions don't have silver bullet responses, Nabila. So you're right that we've done something in the past, but the future is actually even scarier if you don't change course. Because the built-up area in Bangalore in the next 30 years will be orders of magnitude higher than the growth in built-up area in the last 30 years. So even now, I believe it's not too late. Yes, there may be some corrective action that is needed in clearing encroachments over drains, etc., which will be complex because of legal issues, relocation, etc. But that's not a good enough excuse for us to give up hope. I do believe even if you start right now, it is possible to fix Bangalore. But a good beginning has to be made.
A final word from Priya on that. Priya, the citizen there taking this as an opportunity to sue the BBMP. I'd like to ask you one last time, your message to citizens who are frustrated with the civic body. Can they pursue a case like this? Should there be n number of cases filed against the civic body so that they actually finally act? The Greater Bengaluru Governance Act, we had a whole discussion there. Srikanth was also with me on that. You know, they really promised to fix exactly this. I'm not too sure how they're going to do it when the inherent infrastructure or the design of the city itself is wrong. Priya?
So one thing that Bangalore is known for is active citizenry, and this is exactly the time that citizens need to come together. We need to ask the right questions. As Srikanth rightly pointed out, we have the Greater Bengaluru Act that has been enacted, but when are the elections going to happen? So these are the right kind of questions that we need to ask, and we need to all come together to ask these to all these agencies that are actually, washing off their hands with respect to responsibility. To me, the one final message is that it is said often that little drops make a big ocean. Might seem a little ironic in this situation, considering we're facing a massive havoc with respect to floods. But I do think that citizens coming together, and we have in the past actually come together to really create and make a difference. I think this is the time that we all need to come back to restore the lost, glory that Bangalore essentially is known for.
Right, let's just hope. And I'm really hoping that people find some relief. Bengaluru here is relentlessly raining. Weather is great, but not rains. Definitely not the rains. It's very difficult to wade through Bengaluru city as it is. It's known to be the worst city for traffic. So all the best, both of you, for making your way to work tomorrow. Thank you.